television at 6:10. Otherwise, it was a tiny, tiny game. There wasn't a 7-footer to be found across the board. It felt a little bit like a very advanced City League game where it's the 6'4" and under, but the NBA version of it.
It was a blast, though. And
it was fun basketball.
I know we're going to get to Deni, but we've been talking about Deni a lot for good reason recently. Why don't we start with Scoot? Because this was a really interesting night for him, and it's a shame he got in foul trouble because he had such efficient little bursts. And then there was some turnovers and some messing around with Russ, and that was all fun and kind of the tit for tat and back and forth with those two guys. But to your point, Marang, it is a night like this where Scoot has a really good opportunity to get to the hoop because there's not someone clogging up the middle. And at times you saw Scoot get to the basket and finish. At times we saw some really fancy passing and playmaking in there. And at times you saw the turnovers. And I do think that the good outweighed the bad tonight. I really liked what Scoot did in this starting role, and he was needed because Ant did not play.
Yeah, Ant and Donovan are both out sick. They've got the nasty bug going around. But I thought Scoot had a good game tonight.
He did.
The only real takeaway, other than some not carelessness but looseness with the ball, if I see him sauce one more layup while he's shooting under 50% at the rim on layups, I'm gonna lose my mind.
That was a tough one.
Well, he had 3 of them tonight, and it's like, brother, you did all the hard work. Lay it up. Don't spin it. Don't throw it off the glass. Don't get cute. You're not good enough yet to get cute.
So there were 3 sure lay-ins that he missed. Because there was one in particular that was overly egregious, but there were a couple
There
where...
were 2 others where he tried to...
like too much English.
Yeah,
right.
and it's like...
Well, that's where the Russ stuff came in.
Well,
I'm
no,
saying the tit
so
for tat.
for those that don't know, Russ is the guy that Scoot kind of idolized and kind of...
Makes sense when you see him play.
No, it does. But it's like, yeah, that's also Russ's problem. He gets a little too much dip on his chip. I mean, and just don't do that. Like I want to, like, again, I don't want him to be a saucy.
Yeah.
But let's do it with the playmaking. Let's do it with the handle. Let's do it with things where you're a little bit more in control. Right now, he's in the sixth percentile of finishing at the rim in the league.
6th being bad. You want to be 94th.
Yes.
Yeah.
He shoots 58% at the rim overall on all shots.
Which is a bummer because he gets there a lot.
Yes, and it's like if you're looking at the glass half full of that means there's a lot of room to grow. There's a whole 93 percentiles to go to make an improvement. And he's so good at getting there, and he's developing some moves and counter moves. He had one tonight where he went to the floater, and I was like, ooh, there it is. I want to see that again.
He switched things up, and I also liked he started 3 for 3 from the three-point line as well.
Yeah, and his threes, I thought his threes were great tonight. And not just because he hit them as opposed to Shaedon.
We'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that. There's a stark contrast between Shaedon Sharpe's finishing and three-point shooting. But I thought Scoot's threes were good tonight. It was very much in rhythm, taking the right shots. There was one off the pick and roll where he stepped back, got his feet set, let it go. It was like, oh, that's a very comfortable 3.
Crowd went, ooh.
Yeah, and those are the ones you want to see him taking. It's like you don't need to sauce it up when you can keep it simple. Like it's okay to do it every now and then, and I get it, and that's part of his game. And the Blazers have lacked some flash and panache, as it were, and so I like to see him do that. Let's do it on the stuff that.
I get it, but he's playing against his guy, and it's Friday, and it's a big game, and the crowd is going. Like, I get it. I get why he did it. And you could see it because Russ was giving it back to him, too. It never, like, crossed the line of being chippy. It was always, like, this really fun, sort of respectful intensity contest that those two guys had.
Oh, they're both sickos.
And I really enjoyed it. And, again, it was such a bummer. Scoot only played 20 minutes tonight. I would have loved to see Scoot get something like a 34-minute night.
He had to give up basically 6 minutes tonight because he picked up his 3rd foul.
Yep.
I want to say 6:35 remaining in the second quarter. It was like, there was a fan in front of me who was like, Delano Banton's playing a lot. And I'm like, well, that's because Scoot's in foul trouble.
I mean,
they're a little short-handed right now, and so it was like, are we going to get some Roops minutes early kind of a deal? But the way the game started, the Blazers picked up 4 team fouls in under 3 minutes, and I was like...
And then they were in the penalty with like 7.5 minutes.
Yeah, well, I mean, every foul after that,
Right.
you're in the penalty with
The fifth foul.
Yeah, with over 9 minutes to go, you're like, oh, they're shooting free throws for the next 9 minutes. This is not a good place to be.
You looked at me and were like, we were in the Motor Center. Danny just looked at me after that 4th foul. And I was like,
yeah.
And I was like, well, I looked down, and the end of the first quarter took about 38 minutes, and I was like,
that was a long.
Oh boy, this could be a long night. But to the Blazers' credit, they kind of restored order. They tied the game up after the first quarter, and the contributions across the board were a big part of that.
And I think Scoot was, I loved, honestly, in the beginning of it, I was loving how the Motor Center and the crowd was kind of just feeding into it and giving that energy, because those 3-pointers, honestly, I felt like were extremely needed because Blazers weren't hitting anything. Yeah.
They came out really flat, Tyree, and it felt early on like, how are the Blazers going to score? Oh, my God.
I think this video is just
Our
hilarious.
king. I don't care. I love Joker. I don't care what any of you
great.
think. I think he's fabulous. I love that he's weird. Scoot's threes were very, very important because early in that game, it was like, how are the Blazers going to score? Because Ant's been scoring a ton. He's not in the game. Donovan's been clogging up the middle, so we can't get cheap offensive rebounds in 3 or 4 opportunities, though the Blazers did do a very nice job of offensive rebounding with 15. 2 was a big part of that, but also a big part of that was no one was tall in the game tonight, right? There was no big down low.
Fair.
Very, very important for Scoot to hit those threes and kind of change the momentum because it was, I think, 19-9 early on, quick timeout, and you're like, is this going to be an ugly one? But like Danny said, they were able to get that, kind of figured out their pacing a little bit, and then Deni got involved and took over, as Deni does, who we can probably transition to now because the man had 36 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. He got to the free throw line 9 times. He's doing all of the things.
He's crazy.
I know Marang is kind of giving him one of these, you know, in the nitpicky sense.
He's not wrong.
Because it is March.
It's very smarchy basketball.
Yes.
And you always have to beware. And again, do not get it twisted. I think Denny's playing phenomenally. Every part of his game, with the exception of the turnovers, where he had 5 turnovers tonight, he has been fantastic. I'm a big believer in Deni, but I always...
What does that mean?
Dad, why is my sister's name Rose? Because your mother loves roses. Thanks, Dad. No problem, Deni. Hey, if I have a kid, I'll name him Deni too. It seems like Denny's a winner around here.
Look, Deni is the perfect encapsulation of a player. You know, I always talk about the idea of, like, it's a good idea to have bigger, longer, stronger players who can dribble, pass, and shoot. Oh, and defend. Very helpful. And the biggest part of that for me is Denny's ability to knock down threes. Now, he's been on an absolute heater from 3, and I don't expect that to continue at this level. I believe he's over 50% now in his last 10 games.
4 of 6 tonight.
And one of the things I was wondering when the Blazers acquired Deni Avdija is because he started to flash some three-point shooting growth, but it was all corner threes, and that's where he was the most efficient, which are not, they're not self-created. What he's doing this year are knocking down self-created threes above the break, and those are star shots. Like that's what all stars do, is they knock down those shots. And you look at him tonight, all of his threes come from above the break. Again, he gets to the free throw line. Again, he rebounds. Again, he creates. Again, and he's right now teetering on the, like, one of the best high-level role players in the NBA. And some people will say like that's a knock. It's not a knock. Like, you're either a star or you're a starter role player. And that right now, Deni is a very high-level starter role player.
Is he Walton Goggins? Is he the Walton Goggins of the NBA?
Yes, absolutely.
That's a good one.
It's undeniable, which means it cannot be denied. Somebody out there will get that.
So I hope somebody does.
But if Deni's shooting is real, he moves into that fringe all-star conversation. I mean, if he's a guy that averages 20 points, 8 boards, 5 assists at 6'9", while being a multifaceted player on both ends of the floor, that's exactly the thing that every team is looking for.
Like, there's been many guys that have had a glow up this season, but it's not hyperbolic to say Deni has changed the Portland Trail Blazers franchise.
Yes.
Like, he literally has. He's been the best player this season, even with the slow start. He is the best Portland Trail Blazer. I don't think anyone who's watched, say, 30 games this season could argue that point.
No, I'm not going to argue
When
it.
he's not in the game, Tyree, it doesn't just look different, it feels different, and you can feel it immediately. Because he, once again, we talked about this last night, him getting to the line to stop the run and the momentum growing of the other team is such a big asset. And he's such an effective grifter in the most complimentary way.
Yes.
And he does that in addition to all the other things we've named. He's a very, very complete basketball player. And if he continues to develop the three-point shot, like you point out, sky's the limit.
Here's the thing on Deni. Over the last 15 games, so he has been available for 12 of them. So in 12 games, he is averaging 21 points, 9.3 rebounds, 5 assists on 51, 45, 78 shooting. I mean, that's a bit more than just a heater. You know what I mean?
All-star
Like,
game in 2 weeks? If it was, would you put him as all-star?
I mean, you would probably put his hat into the alternates for sure, but I think the number that stands out to me is beyond the rebounds, it's the 7.2 free throws. I mean, when you are getting to the line 6.5+ times a game, you were putting yourself in the upper echelon of free throw generators in the NBA.
Shea gets there 9 times to reference, and he's the all-time free throw merchant. Like, that's
And look,
what he is.
Denny's a merchant. And
Yes.
It's
an asset.
He does that Harden rip through Euro, but it's not quite as egregious. Don't get me wrong, it's mildly egregious, but it's not the full-on flail at the top. But he plays with such force and such ferocity that he has to get rewarded.
He forces the refs to make a decision.
And you were also talking about his drifting is getting better as well in the media role. You're talking about Denny's be able to draw the fouls in a lot more, and he's getting a lot better at it each and every game.
The ability to generate contact where the defender is off balance or reaching, it's a skill. Like, there's the nasty stuff in the peak Harden eras, and sometimes what you see SGA do, where you're like, come on, man. Look, Denny's not against it. He has a couple. Come on, Denny.
They're way better though.
But
he sells it better.
It's a smaller cycle because a lot of his game is so predicated on physicality.
Is this crazy to say? Is this crazy to say that right now, at this moment, this minute, this second, when people think of the Portland Trailblazers, they think of Deni Avdija?
Probably. I think there's obviously a certain sect of the fan base that does, but he's been here for less than a year.
I think if you were to walk outside and ask people who the best Blazer is, they'd say Damian Lillard, to tell you the truth. I truthfully do not think
he hasn't had that.
I know
yet.
I know you don't really agree with that, but I really don't think that this team has been on enough of a large scale success-wise for one of these guys to take over as the perfect example. I have my boys that went to Wazoo, and they were texting me about the Blazers, and they're like, wow, they look really good. If I was to ask any of these guys who follow sports somewhat casually, who is the best Portland Trailblazer right now, they wouldn't be able to name one.
Well, if they're up right now, you should go ahead and ask them, because we got to hear from our good people at Dick Hanna Subaru, don't we?
Oh, our friends at Dick Hanna Subaru. Well, guys, guess what?
What's up?
It's springtime, and it's the perfect time to check out the new 2025 Subaru models rolling out every day over at Dick Hanna Subaru. Subaru delivers with that lifetime powertrain warranty on every new car. Experience nice in the car business over at Dick Hanna Subaru. Believe in nice. Visit them today and see why a Subaru is perfect for the season. And your next big assist, it's time for a deep dive into a shallow topic. That's right. It's Trend BA.
Trend BA, here we go to the Blazer box, good people. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Rob Williams, baby, will be missing basically the rest of the season after undergoing arthroscopic procedure for a little inflammation on his left knee earlier this week, which honestly, and I'm sure if folks saw this prior to episode 71 of Rip City Wrap Up, felt just like we felt. Crushed, just... Rob has gone through it this year in these industries, right, Danny?
Yeah, I mean, that's the unfortunate, problem for Rob is that his knees have these issues. And it's,
Sucks, man.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Rob's a great dude, and he's just had to deal with this. And that's just the unfortunate nature of it all. And hopefully this is enough to, this isn't like a full arthroscopic rebuild. It's to address inflammation. I mean, without knowing exactly what it is, because he's not around to talk to right now, I would imagine if it's to address inflammation, it's probably to get it drained, which is not a fun process. They stick a giant needle in your knee and suck a ton of fluid out. It's super not fun.
Doesn't sound like it.
Gross.
Yeah. Or they probably, if there's an actual surgical procedure to be done, I would imagine it's some sort of trim to maintain something, because there's probably something that's aggravated. Again, I'm just guessing. This is not reporting. This is just, unfortunately, I've done pretty much everything you can do to a knee. So
you understand, and now we're without him for the rest of the season. How big of a blow is that to this team?
I mean, I think you probably always had to look at Rob as a luxury, right? It was never like someone that you were relying on, but when you had him, oh my gosh, it was unbelievable. Like it's like having excellent pizza. Like, good pizza is still good, but excellent pizza is just like that cherry on top, right? It is like that extra level, and Rob was that extra level. Like, you've had such a lack of depth at center throughout most of the season. Like, having all three centers healthy, has that happened? What, Marang, like 2-3 times, maybe?
No, I mean,
was
they
there
had
a stretch?
They had all three healthy there for probably about 2 months.
You think we had 40 games with all three guys?
Not 40 games. That's just 2 months. That's
30-ish?
That's about 18 to 23, right in there. It's probably about a quarter of the season.
Okay.
Yeah. Remember there was a period where people that told me were getting mad at me because I was like there's a period where Donovan will get DNPs. Like, that won't happen, and then Donovan got DNPs. Remember, it was choosing between Donovan and Rob.
That was when Donovan was out, and then Rob came back, and then Donovan came back, and they did have all three. I don't remember it being quite as long, but I'm going to defer you and trust you on that.
It was for quite a while.
It's just that I think Rob, to me, has always been, like I said, a luxury. Like, it's nice to have him. It's imperative that you have him in your locker room. Like, I think the relationship and the bond that he's formed with Don, all three of these guys. I mean, you still see DA, a guy who hasn't played in a while, how engaged he is on the bench still. Like, DA is not checked out. And that was, a lot of the rap on him was like, the spirit and all that kind of tongue-in-cheek stuff we say throughout the course of the season. But getting it back to Rob, it's a bummer. It sucks. Ideally, it's someone who can play 50 games a year.
I mean, that's what you hope.
It would be really nice if you could work out a situation where
he's a defensive player of the year caliber player.
Right.
So if you could get him for 55 games,
it's worth it.
Yeah.
I think it's worth the risk.
I agree. I understand. And, shout out to Rob Williams. Unfortunately, we won't see him for the rest of the season, but the veteran presence that he has, the growth that you've seen out of Donovan Clingan, especially this season, under Rob's kind of guidance when he was available and able to talk to DC, I think centers that we got on the team right now, going into a potential play-in, I feel confident in our guys. I feel confident that, Rob may not be here, but his veteran presence was enough to mature these guys to a point to where I feel comfortable knowing that Rob may not be in the lineup, but I can trust the guys who we got now.
Well, I mean, look at what you've gotten out of Wap, and I know Bari hasn't played recently, but you're going down the depth chart when it comes to center, and they didn't even really have a center start the game tonight.
Deni got some 5 action tonight.
Of course, that's a circumstance of Jokic not playing, but still, to be able to mix and match the way they have, we forget that this run has occurred with one center. DA and Rob haven't played for a while now. I mean, I understand.
Donovan Wap.
I'm talking traditional 7-foot
experienced center.
Yes,
that's the real thing.
Yes.
And obviously Donovan's 7'3". Wap is about 6'8.5".
Sure.
Very different players, but to be honest, when DA went down, I genuinely thought I don't know how they're going to have a center rotation.
I thought that was it too.
I was and to Donovan's credit, for most of the games, he's been able to be productive and efficient at least of the things that he needs to do as far as protecting the rim, controlling glass. He's had better nights than some, but he has surpassed my expectations in that vein. I mean, again, you're talking about a rookie big man who's finally worked himself into the conditioning shape necessary to play those minutes, and also, at bare minimum, hold it down, which is not always watch Zach Edey against the Blazers the other night, who was in the very similar circumstances, but didn't have the ability to stay on the floor and be productive when he has more around him.
Well, look at what you got out of Dwap Reith tonight. This is a guy who had spot minutes. It's okay, cool. He can come and be a stretch, knock down some threes. It's a bit of a wrinkle. Tonight, the guy only shot 1 3-pointer. He was 6 of 8 from the field in 32 minutes. He had 12 points, 4 assists, and 7 rebounds, and a steal. The guy is playing great defense. He is not doing the thing that was his calling card, which was to get him minutes, which is to knock down the occasional three. He's getting on the floor now with his defense.
Yeah.
And finishing at the basket. His offensive rebound opportunities led the team in offensive rebounds. He had 4 tonight.
Plus 26 tonight.
I was waiting for you to bring it up.
I mean, the biggest runs they had, a lot of times it was Dwap Reith in there and doing, to your point, Joe, it was doing cleanup duty. He doesn't. There's a very stark difference between him and Donovan when you're talking about offensive rebounds. Donovan's trying to grab the board, come back down. Wap, that ain't him.
No.
He knows that he's smaller, and he's not nearly that explosive. Although, shouts to Wap, he's had some dunks and some blocks lately where he's gotten off the ground higher than I've ever seen him. But he's a tip master in this, and he was wanting to get around it, just kind of glides through.
Don't play bump with Wap.
No, just
gonna get killed.
Give you a little slide by on his shoulder, and then just tap it in. And both him and Tumani are very good at that, and their ability to just kind of have good timing. I mean, the Blazers tonight on the offensive glass, 15 offensive rebounds, and they got contributions from everyone. You had the tip dunk from Scoot, which I can't remember ever seeing him have a tip dunk.
That was awesome.
I mean, Scoot's athletic profile was, I think, a lot higher than maybe kind of the player that he is. He hasn't had those moments quite as often as I think people expected, but he flew on the tip dunk. Shaedon had one that didn't count tonight that was just absolutely bonkers. He came out of nowhere and just cuff dunked a putback after the whistle, and I went, Oh, it's just nothing to you. Okay, cool.
They
But
were high-flying, man.
between two and Chris and Wap and Donovan when he's healthy, like you just kind of go up and down the up and down the scoreboard, and you're just like, I mean, again, Chris Murray tonight, 3 offensive rebounds. Wap 4, 2 for Scoot, 2 for 2, 2 for Shaedon, 2 for Deni, and like that's where Chauncey Billups talked about it in the post game. You know, yeah, Deni had the big game tonight, but if Deni didn't have it, it's okay for somebody else to have it because everybody's just kind of chipping in, and if somebody's got it going, it's their turn. If somebody else has got it going, it's their turn. Like there's a kind of a symbiotic relationship. Yeah, Deni was great, but
Well, can we get like more? I hate to sound project manager-ish, but can we get 30,000 feet on this thing for a second?
Yeah.
Because the Blazers scored 128 points.
it's a lot of points.
No Ant Simons. Very good. No Ant Simons, no DeAndre Ayton, no Jeremy Grant. That's a lot of points that you're replacing. And you were still able to almost get 130.
I mean, you're basically talking about 60 points.
It's an incredible accomplishment for so many guys to fill it up.
And Shaedon Sharpe, 23 points. We got to talk a little bit about Shaedon.
Sure.
10 to 22 from the field,
Shoot or
but
shoot.
1 to 10 from the three-point line. He found his points in the paint, which I know is something that you emphasize so much about Shai.
Look, I am not against Shaedon Sharpe shooting threes. I am totally for it. What I am against is him taking bad threes. Off balance, you know, look, late clock shots, I don't really throw into those. See, every now and then somebody's got to take the grenade. It is what it is. I don't really ever, those have never bothered me. You know, sometimes you just got to get something up, and that's how it goes. But when I see him get a switch on a big, and he waits, and he waits, and he waits, and he's like, I'll let it go now. It's like, my brother in Christ, for the love of God, put the ball down and test him once. Because when he turns the corner, he was 9 of 12 at the rim
Well,
tonight.
Especially tonight. There's no
There's
one
no
in there.
big.
There's no one
Like,
in there.
there's no one who can jump with you, brother.
Everyone
Go.
is feasting. It is time to eat, and
Yeah.
he just refused to do it.
Modestly. Maybe he wants to do it modestly. Maybe he wants to work on. Okay.
No,
Never
no.
mind.
And when you look at that, when you
Take it back.
when you catch the ball coming off a DHO, when there's no big out there, and you know there's no big out there, he needs to go.
So what do you think
Yeah.
he's thinking then? What do you think he was thinking during those?
I think he's
10
thinking,
shots.
I don't trust my handle enough, and sometimes I get loose with it, and when I get in traffic, I lose the ball. I'd rather get a shot up than struggle
over.
to create a shot or turn it over, which to an extent is a level of maturation and understanding. But more often than not, I would rather him take an offensive foul running somebody over at the rim and being aggressive than doing the triple threat waiting 4 seconds, I'll take a 3 shot. That shot in his shot diet bothers me probably more than any other shot, because it's like, if you're going to do that, man, give it up and get it back and be on the move, because that's when you're a threat. You are just an invincible threat when you're on the move, because once he starts going downhill, when you see him turn that corner, as soon as he picks the ball up, everybody's sitting there going, oh no, what's he going to do? On both sides, because you know how vicious he can be at the rim, and if you don't put a body on him, if you don't wall off at the rim, he can get you every time. And it's not just the dunk, it's switching hands, it's getting to the other side. His ability to finish as a natural finisher is crazy.
Joe, what's your thoughts on Shai shooting from the night?
I mean, it was bad. He went 1 of 10. Now, he did make, in
Okay.
Shaedon's defense,
He kept shooting.
he did. And he made the last one. And then he threw his hands up in exultation to
Should
the
he have
crowd.
kept shooting is the question.
Yes.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Again, I am not against Shaedon taking threes at all.
Okay.
I just want to see him take the controlled threes before we start going into the number 1 off balance ones and the settling ones.
Yeah, but you've already jumped to your conclusion, right? Like you've made the point and you've gotten in his head and like, all right, well, what is the thing that is preventing Shai from doing the thing that we so obviously see is his correct path to success? It's the lack of trust in his handle. And when he does get in traffic, it is the one bugaboo that we have with Shai, aside from the 3, because you can see it's a little more difficult to see it than it was when it was a problem with Scoot, because Scoot is so demonstrative.
Yeah.
And Shai is more closed off in his expression, as Tyree has noted once or twice as we watch the basketball games.
Statuesque.
Once
Shay,
or
you my
twice.
boy. Just smile. Show that haircut a little bit. He had a haircut tonight. It was real
did.
natural.
It looked real good. But
Clean.
if he is not feeling good about his handles and he goes in the paint a few times and it doesn't go well, then I can see him settling for the three. I'm not saying it's the right move, but it does seem like it's his default setting.
It's a cycle. It's like, okay, I need to, like, I got into traffic. He had one tonight where he kind of lost the ball and he did kind of a splits, and I was like, oh, no, God, you know, don't want to get hurt there, brother.
Right.
But, like, you can see him sometimes when he puts the ball down, and the thing is, his handle's not, like, when you watch him dribble, it's not one of those things where it's, like, all over the place. You can just see him when he gets in traffic, he gets a little wide, he gets a little loose, and it's the difference. Jaylen Brown went through this. Jaylen Brown just could not dribble in traffic, and then he got better and better and better. Now, it's still not the best handle on the planet, but it effectively gets him from point A to point B. And if Shaedon can do that over the next 12 to 18 months, you'll see a pretty seismic leap in his game, because if he can get from the three-point line to the rim without having a DHO or having something where an advantage is already created for him, if he can do that on his own, he becomes significantly more lethal.
Takes his game to the next level. What's going to take your guys' game to the next level? A little best day brewing. Joe.
Tyree,
Joe.
Danny, the game's over.
It is.
But the night, that's just getting started.
It's Friday night, baby.
Let's keep those good vibes going with Best Day Brewing, the fastest growing non-alcoholic craft beer brand, Tyree. Why it's the ultimate post-game play. We get to enjoy a great beer without worrying about tomorrow, because let's face it, celebrating this 4-game winning streak doesn't need alcohol. Fans, make every day your best day. Find your nearest Best Day Brewing retailer at bestdaybrewing.com. Okay, we're running out of show. We have to do two.
I was waiting on
we have to do two Blazers. It's the top 25 Blazers of the 21st century. We have to do 13 and number 12. Number 13, it's Anthony Simons. It's Anthony Simons. You say, oh, guys, Anthony Simons, that's just your... No, surely you jest. He is first in Blazers history in threes made per 36. He's third in made threes in Blazers history.
Overall.
Third in free throw percentage. 8th in points per 36 minutes. Those are all-time.
Yeah.
All time for Anthony Simons. He bridged from the Dame era to where we are right now. He's had big moments for this team. I think he is hurt by the lack of success that he's had, and perhaps isn't as viewed as highly as he should be by others. But number 13 feels right to me.
I mean, his breakout performance of his career in
The Sacramento game.
Sacramento game, when he played 47 minutes and was it 50 seconds?
They were supposed to lose.
They were supposed to lose, and he ends up having 37 points and getting absolutely on fire.
What was that, 2019?
2019, yeah.
Last game of the
2018,
season, the Blazers kind of wanted to lose because it was going to be a quote-unquote better matchup in the playoffs.
They didn't want to face the Thunder, and they ended up facing the Thunder, and then we get the bad shot from Damian Lillard against Paul George. So
Dan Simons did it. Number 12. Oh my gosh. Let's go in the Wayback Machine. It's Bonzi Wells.
Oh, this is way before my time. Bonzi Wells.
98 to 03. I mean, Bonzi was an athletic, just bowling ball, just downhill force over and over again, and his ability to stretch the game back out in the early genesis of three-point shooting. Not the best shooter on the face of the planet, but like you could start to see the evolution of not just his game, but the NBA in general as it started to push out a little bit, in these 6'6", 6'7", rangy wings that could put the ball down and be ferocious at the rim, but also stretch you out to the three-point line. And I mean, he was a key part and a young, explosive part of that ill-fated 99-2000 team.
Bonzi was a problem. Bonzi was a bucket. Dude averaged 17 points a game in 01-02. And I think he really exemplifies that era. And that's
Good
all
and
the
bad.
good that comes with it and all the bad that comes with it. And I still think, this will be a discussion that we have throughout this, guys, that the shining the light of 2025 on that era is a very interesting thing to do. The way that it was viewed then, the way that it's viewed now. And I think Bonzi, I think that's a legitimate part of this conversation is, a lot of what that discussion was, those things that they were really villainized for are just big shops that you see driving down the street. So it is a different society, and it's really interesting to think about that. Here we go. This is a rip through of the list. If you have complaints, send it to committee at KUNP.com. They'll take your comments there. The only one we've gotten pushback on so far, guys, is Sergio Rodriguez being ahead of Steve Blake. People were not happy about that.
Yeah, well.
Talk to the committee. Again, that's committee
It is what it
at,
is.
what is it again?
.com. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
folks. Also, I want to pose this question to you, folks. Amazing. Use the hashtag RC Wrap Up. We'll talk about it now. We'll talk about it on episode 72. Rip City Wrap Up. What's your thoughts? Do you think players in today's can really make a difference and actually play really good basketball in those early 90s and 1992s on those Blazers teams that went to the finals? Or do you think that the players that was on those finals would dominate in today's game? I'm asking you guys that question. We were having that question, a little bit of discussion in the back. It was a very heated. Some friendships may be broken, but that's why I'm asking you guys the question. It was a very big one.
I think my general sense on all sports is they evolve.
Sure.
And the baseline for the talent of your average NBA player in 2025 is significantly higher than your talent of an average NBA player in 1990. You can do player-by-player comparisons, but I just think that's how things should work. Like in 1990, I was looking at 1960s basketball and being like, this isn't even the same game. And to someone your age, to someone Guillermo's age, who we were talking with, like that is like, are you guys playing on a peach basket in 1990? Look at the form of those jump shots. What's going on? And guess what? The generations younger than us, they're going to think the same thing. That's just how this all works. But from a talent perspective, I think that 2025 is higher than 1990, and God willing, if we're still playing basketball in the year 2050, those players are going to be better than they are today.
Well, the flip side of it is, and I hate the whole plumber argument when you talk about Michael Jordan and stuff like that. It's like, well, if those guys grew up in this era,
Michael
they would have...
Jordan or Magic Johnson's not a plumber.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
like-
It's like, come on.
Yeah, no.
Larry Bird.
I mean, you've got 6'7" Clyde Drexler, who's just an absolute
Right.
freak, plays on the dream. Like, Clyde Drexler might be the most disrespected modern NBA player.
There's an excellent argument
It's
for it.
between him and Barkley. It's those two guys, because people look at Chuck now like,
Especially
oh, he's big. I'm like, that man was a monster. That man's an MVP. Like, what?
Watch him play in Philly. Like, watch him
Yes.
play in Philly.
I mean, he's 6'4", averaging 13 rebounds a game.
Yeah.
Like, Clyde might have been the most athletic wing in the league. Like,
I'm not arguing with you.
ahead of Jordan. Like, as far as like how bigger, longer, more explosive, as incredible as that is to say out loud and still actually go, wait, was he? Yeah, sure. But that team, that Blazers era, I mean, Clyde, Duck, Buck, Jerome, Cliff, you take those guys and they develop their game to the modern era, you're talking about athletic freaks. I mean, you throw those guys out there now, they would do just fine.
I do agree with you. To the point, I understand why folks may say that 2025 players are a little bit faster. They relate it to the same thing with the NFL back in the 80s and the 90s as well. But if you look at the players and you look at the size comparisons and compare them to today's, you put them up that 90-92 roster, compare the height size to what we got on our roster right now.
Very similar.
Very similar. Maybe a tad bit smaller with the size that we have right now. My point is they're long, they were very athletic, and they could compete in today's league because when you look at today's league, you look at guys like Steph. They're smaller, they're faster, they may be quicker, but god dang it, when Donovan gets moving and he starts really getting his feet under, those guys are in trouble. So my point is those guys may have been in an older generation where things may not have been athletic. You may not have had your Anthony Simons or whatnot, but to say that they won't be able to be a top guy in 2025 is legitimately insane, considering Kevin Durant is about as long as them, considering Victor Wembanyama is bigger and longer than them.
Oh, don't get me wrong. There's more mutants today than there ever was before, and that's
Kristaps, if Red Auerbach would have seen Kristaps Porzingis, it would literally kill him again.
yeah. It's like that's good.
That's a great one. I think it's time we go ahead and get into this topic. Play-in, baby. Let's just go ahead and start talking about it.
Let's
I
go.
know.
No, the math is mathing.
The math is mathing. I've done extensive tiebreaker research, Dan Marang.
All right, let's go to the Blazer box with people.
There's only one potential tiebreaker that's out there, so go ahead, Joe.
There's only one potential tiebreaker that's out there?
It's the record against the Western Conference opponents.
Yeah.
Because they're 2-2 against the Suns, and they don't have the tiebreaker against the Mavericks.
Yes, they would. Now, if we could go back to that graphic real quick, because I think the Kings is who we need to look at. We're not looking at the Kings. We need to hone in on the Kings. So it is, in fact, a 2-game difference between Dallas and Portland and Phoenix in Portland. And when you get to the first tiebreak, it is the season series. So Dallas has the tiebreak with Portland. Phoenix and Portland, they split, like you said, the division record or the conference record. Basically, whatever record you look at, Phoenix is a better one than Portland. If there's a three-way tiebreak between those three teams, that also does not work in Portland's favor. So Portland has to not tie either Phoenix or Dallas. They have to be
surpass
one
them.
game ahead of them. So 2 games is 3 games.
Yes, that's
they are 3 games back of Phoenix and 3 games
And had
back
they lost tonight,
of Dallas.
it's basically gone.
Tonight would have been bad because both
They would have fallen 4, which would be 5 back.
Yes. Both Phoenix and Dallas won tonight. Unexpectedly. They were both big dogs, and they won unexpectedly.
And the crazy thing is the Dallas Mavericks are rushing back Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively, who are both going to undergo or have gone down to the
Is
G
AD
League.
coming back too?
AD is already down with
What are
the
they
G League.
doing down there?
Trying to prove that they didn't make the
doing
biggest
down
mistake
there?
in sports history.
Very
which,
much.
Nico's
good
gonna
luck with
ruin
that.
some careers
yeah,
to
I mean,
prove
like,
his point.
Nothing.
Real nice.
Certainly nothing wrong with rushing back 7-footers who are all coming off lower body injuries. That's not going to come back to bite you.
So Sacramento, again, I think we need to not overlook Sacramento. So right now they are.
I mean, I would. Domantas
9.
Sabonis rolled his ankle sideways. He's going to be out for probably 10
No. I mean, don't overlook them in terms of the ability to catch them because you are 4
Yeah.
back right now. You lead the season series 2-1. You play them on Thursday. If you win that game in Sacramento, you win the season series. You then pick up another game on them. So then you are 3 back of them, and they also enter the
Hey,
equation.
Joe, why is that important?
Why is what important?
When you have the opportunity to play those games, you gain
all
one and you knock the other team down 1.
This is an old,
he hates
this
it when
is
I
an
do
old
this.
argument that doesn't make any sense.
Blazers basically need 3.
Joe doesn't like math.
3.
It's tough.
Math sucks. I haven't done math,
Math
since little
rules,
high school.
kids. Math
no,
rules.
math sucks.
It's good. You can't say math sucks.
Why can't I?
And,
It's the building block of the universe.
I don't give a damn. It sucks.
but I will say to all the teachers out there
Adding
who
hurts.
used to yell at us when Joe and I were kids that you'll never have a calculator in your pocket. Yeah, we do.
Yeah. Whoops.
Why do I want to count? No, math sucks. It's trash. I don't want to hear that. No.
Math is
Why?
trash.
Math is
Tyree
trash?
Smith.
Yeah, I don't like math. I'm sorry. Listen, I respect all math teachers and everything because they do
I thought
something.
you were going to say I
can't-
respect all math.
Yeah.
all math people that
Except
teach
you,
it.
geometry.
Yeah. Trigonometry, not you. You get no love.
They're not getting love from me at all.
Well,
okay?
math is important for the Blazers to
It
get
is.
to this play-in.
That's true.
And if they're able to get one and then lose one, whatever the hell Marang just said, you're going to be in lockstep with Sacramento. But at the end of the
don't know what
day,
he said.
it is still very difficult to make up 3 games in 11.
No, it's again.
It is.
is.
Had they lost tonight, I would have said it's over.
The air's out of the balloon if they lose
Yeah, I
tonight.
mean, 4 games at 11. You're basically hoping that you go 9-2 to cover up for
Well,
any potential win.
as we look ahead,
Look, what was once a very difficult schedule, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody's going to play for these teams because no Nikola Jokic tonight.
no Jalen.
No.
Let's go to that Blazer box with people.
Jaylen Brown is going to be out against the Trailblazers due to a bone bruise. He is going to be out for at least 2 games. The Cleveland Cavaliers, they've had the 1 seed wrapped up in the Eastern Conference.
They got to win, man.
I mean, do they? Because it just seems like they're having good times at all the cities that they're stopping in because they have it wrapped up.
They're on like a 4-game losing streak.
Yeah, no,
I don't
they-
think you might be right.
Donovan Mitchell went 2 of 18 tonight.
But they're going to, I guess my point is they're going to have to flip the switch at some point before the season ends.
Yeah, they gotta get
to
going.
get it back.
Yeah.
And I just hope that doesn't come against Portland. I hope they're still kind of sleepwalking on Tuesday.
to your point, when we talked about this, I said we needed to get 2 of these 4
Yeah.
in order for
We were
there to
hoping
be
for
that
one to be like, that would be nice. And now we've
but
gotten the first 2.
2 was like, okay, now you've got a shot. The problem is the Dallas Mavericks and Phoenix Suns have also started winning out of nowhere. And I've talked to people in Dallas. The Dallas Mavericks are 100% going to go for this. I don't know why, but okay.
Interesting. Okay.
That is
well,
wild, man.
let's go ahead and bring
it's-
up the
it's such
Dallas
a
Mavericks schedule as well on the Blazer box.
crazy
What are these
decision.
games that they can actually win that you see
The
here?
Suns have the most difficult schedule in the NBA. They play 2 teams with a losing record. Otherwise, they have a gauntlet. The Dallas Mavericks, on the other side, they beat the Detroit Pistons tonight. Now they're going to go out on the road trip. And basically the same road trip the Blazers are going to go out on, where they're going to play the Nets, Knicks, Bulls. The Blazers are going to basically kind of trail behind them. But you look at the Mavericks there, they get the Nets twice. But they also have quite a brutal stretch there with the Clippers, Lakers, Raptors. Kind of snuck that one in there. And then the Grizzlies. Clippers, Lakers, Grizzlies, those are 3 teams that are fighting for seeding.
So let's say the Mavericks go 5-3 in there. The Blazers would have to win 8 games.
That's what I'm saying. You basically have to go 9-2.
Excuse me, that'd be 5-6. If Dallas goes 5-6, Portland would have to go 8-3,
That's
which means you have to win a lot more games against good
9-2 is the only real way to not guarantee, but like.
Now again, the Blazers are taking care of business. Like they are handling what they have to. And it sounds crazy to say, guys, but we're kind of at a point where until the Blazers don't handle their business, I'm gonna assume that they're going to.
Yeah,
That's fair.
look, if teams keep resting guys though, it's a little bit easier.
I want to bring up the Blazer box real quick. We got 2 minutes left. I want y'all to see this is the Phoenix Suns schedule. So you got Cleveland, which was tonight, and they won. Milwaukee Bucks is next. Boston, Timberwolves, Houston Rockets, Bucks, Celtics, Knicks,
Just
Warriors,
brutal.
Thunder,
Phoenix?
Spurs, Kings. Yeah, that's Phoenix.
Wow.
Good
Yeah.
gracious.
Wow.
They do finish with Spurs Kings, which is they're probably gonna be important games.
Spurs, definitely. It doesn't seem like they're fully tanking right now, San Antonio.
Well, they're leaning into it, but they're also they've managed to win a game or two. And the Blazers, I believe, even after the win tonight, are only a game ahead of the 8th seed, or a game and a half ahead of the 8th worst record in the NBA. So despite the Blazers winning, they still have the potential to fall back to 8 or 9 in the lottery.
Yeah,
odds.
they're only a game ahead of San Antonio. They're tied in the loss column.
It's crazy.
Celtics is
what matters
coming
most,
to
Joe?
town.
Math.
There you go.
All right, well, you know what? They said it in the chat, math is rules, but what rules is more Blazers game at the Moda Center? And that is going to be this coming Sunday at 3 p.m., good people. It will be a 3 p.m. tip. We love those
Oh,
early.
we love a good matinee.
Yes, we do. Rip City Wrap-Up, episode 72 will be on right after. Folks, what's going to be the key for Blazers getting this victory over the Celtics? No Jaylen Brown, so...
Don't get Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah.
Okay.
If the threes don't go in, the Blazers will win.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, you remember that historic game. Hopefully that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about another Blazers win and more good things coming for the play-in.